pencil lead, I guess, right?
Well,
or that was the foxhole one.
That was the foxhole
Yeah.
one.
This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America. All right, welcome to everybody tuned in on shortwave listening tonight or on the web. This is Amateur Radio Roundtable. I'm Tom Medlin, W5KUB. And we got a lot of interesting things lined up for you tonight. First, let me just say we started a little late tonight. We had a little technical problems. It always happens right about a minute till the showtime. So I don't know why that happens, but I'm going to blame it on Glen Popiel.
Why not? It'll be my fault at some point.
I thought for a minute his mic must have been off. Hey, usually he would chime in a little quicker than that. But anyway, we're on there. Hey, several things going. I've noticed some new names in the chat room there. If you're new to the show and you're in the chat room, let us know. Tell us in the chat room if you're new to the show tonight. I would love to hear from you. I saw a Mary 38 or something. I saw, I don't know what I just saw a bunch of names there. Maybe we even have people that don't have their ham license yet. I don't know. So anyway, let us know who you are, where you are. I'd love to hear from you. So, hey, the 40-meter net tonight, it wasn't too good. The band was really, really bad. Very few signals, but what few signals I was getting, it was a Spanish QRM right on frequency. So I think we and they were about the only people on tonight. If you are, okay, audio a little hot. Usually I'm a little low, but I'll just turn it down a little bit. Hey, if, I forgot what I was going to say. So I'll go to something else. So anyway, if you're new with us tonight, send us a note. We'd love to have you. And I know what it was. We want you to join our Facebook group. We've got a Facebook group now of just ham radio operators and shortwave listeners. And there's quite a few new people that are following our balloon that aren't hams. But that group is called W5KUB. It's also called Amateur Radio Roundtable. So, but if you'll just search for W5KUB on Facebook, you can join that group. We have over 10,000 members in that group right now. We'd love to have you there. As always, we're on International Shortwave on powerful, famous shortwave station WBCQ up in Monticello, Maine. And we are hopefully putting a good signal out around the world. So if you're listening out there on shortwave, you can join us by going to, if you have internet, you can join us by going to w5kub.com. You can join us, you can join the chat room, you can watch the video. And we may even open the phone lines up tonight. If we do, we have phone lines in 65 countries. So if you're out there somewhere, a DX station, or you're out in some foreign country, we got a local phone number you can call to get into the show. Let's see what else is going on. We're going to have a report tonight from, hey, we've got Bill Brown with us tonight, the master of high altitude ballooning. And Bill's going to give us, I think, an update on a big, massive balloon launch that happened last week. And then I want him to kind of give us an analysis of what's going on with our balloon, the show's balloon, W5KUB-18, which has been up in the Arctic circle there for quite a while now. So Bill is going to do that. We've got Joe in here with us again tonight, K0NEB. He's got a neat little kit he just put together. We'll see how that goes. Glen Popiel is with us tonight, and he's here to, if we need some fun and excitement, Glen is here for that. Let's see. What am I forgetting? Oh, hey, you guys probably don't know. Many of you don't know this, but our show is also we also have an audio only podcast. Let me see if I can adjust this. An audio only podcast, and we're carried on nearly every podcast carrier in the country. We're on iTunes and iNet Radio, Google Play. We're on all the big ones and even on all the small ones. And we are getting a lot of downloads. People are downloading, or you don't even have to download it. You can just click on it and you can listen to it as you're driving in your car across the country. So just look for, just search for Amateur Radio Roundtable as a podcast if you're interested in listening to that. Let's see. I think that's the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight. So let's jump around the room here and let's see who we've got. We're using social distancing tonight, so each one of us are pretty good distance apart. Let's jump down. Hey, Glenn, how you doing, man? Down in Mississippi.
Hey, I'm getting bored all to heck, man.
All right,
Don't have
all
a
right.
whole lot to do.
I've got to click on Zoom and get a different button working here. Hang on.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, now you're working. Now you got some life in you. We can see you now.
Well, everything's slower in Mississippi.
Well,
But-
yeah, a little bit, but y'all did have Wi-Fi before people had landlines.
That's true.
Yeah, I think we told that
but-
joke a couple weeks ago.
I've been just busting my tail working on the new book and a couple of review projects and stuff. Still working on those, and it's going to be a really good one. The thing is that they keep adding new add-ons to it, new bundles to part of the product, and so now now I've got a 290-page tutorial book that's being thrown in that I have to skim through. So it's taken up a lot of time, and school's fixing to start back up. They're or so they think. So I'm having to work with some of the school districts a lot more now. It's going to be a little hectic for the next couple of weeks.
Well, all right. Well, we all got to get back to work, except, of course, us people that are retired. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
And then we work all the time. I tell you, I am so busy, man. I don't have time to get everything done here. Maybe I need to go back to work. All right. Well, hey, great city there tonight. Let's jump down and see what Bill's doing. Hey, Bill, how you doing, man? What happened to
I'm
Bill?
doing great. Just try
Now-
your balloon as it does loopy things around the world.
Yeah.
And later in the show, I'd also like to talk about a variant on, instead of balloons, we've got we used one of my friends out in California, KQ6RS. He worked with students at Mount Carmel High School, and they created a whisper-enabled buoy, which they deployed in the Pacific Ocean off of a research institute, Scripps Research Institute boat, about 380 miles southwest of San Diego, and it is reporting on whisper day and night, 20 milliwatts, and it's getting great worldwide coverage because you can't beat having salt water as a counterpoise for an antenna. So I'll have some slides on that later to show you
Okay.
how they constructed it and how you can track it on aprs.fr.
Well, that will be cool. I'm used to following our balloon, and I'm getting just really upset at the 7 miles per hour. Now, I'm not sure this ocean float thing is going to do much better, is it?
0.7 miles per hour.
Oh, man. Oh, that'd be like watching paint dry. Oh, gee. Okay, we'll talk about that in a little while there. Let's jump over. Let's go out to Nebraska and pick up Joe, K0NEB. Joe, how you doing, man?
Well, good evening, Tom, and everybody here on Zoom and in the chat and online. I have been pursuing something kind of different lately. I've had friends in South Dakota and friends in Kansas both recently have invited me to go fishing. So a couple weeks ago, I went and caught a big catfish in South Dakota. And tomorrow I'm going to head to northern Kansas, and which isn't too far, and see if I can get more fish than bug bites. So,
Well, you know, hey,
but
catfish.
what's fun is we're hams, and so I'll bring a KX2 and some other stuff, and we'll play radio while we're sitting around waiting for the hooks to bite.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to, let's see, Joe. I'm trying to bring this in here on the split screen. There we go. That'll work better. You know, that's catfish is pretty popular fish down here in this part of the country. And you know how a lot of people fish for catfish down here? Those great big ones. You know what they do? They get in the water. They get in the water and they find a hole in the bank under the water, a little cave, and they stick their arm up in there. And they just grab it, man, grab it in the mouth and pull it out. Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
You ought to check it out on YouTube. There's a lot of YouTubes about that.
Well, I caught a 23.5-inch 5-pound cat last week in South Dakota. So I'd say I did pretty good for having not fished in over 15 years. So not bad.
Yeah,
And
they
we'll
call
see.
that noodling, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that. I'll
I
have to
think
look
I
that
think
up
the
on
catfish
YouTube.
mouth is so big it actually goes over the guy, and when the guy pulls it out, his hand is inside the fish, and they pull some
Yeah.
massive ones. They pull massive ones out of those holes, man.
Wow.
You ought to try that, Joe.
I don't know if I want to do that. I think the one I had was big enough. I got half my hand in him this last time, just to get the pliers in there to pull the hooks. So,
Yeah. Well,
all right.
all right. Well, hey, while we're at it, why don't we just jump right into your segment there about your
All right.
kits?
All right. Well, let me see if I can get some pictures here. I guess I get to share the screen. Oh, it says you've disabled it, so I can't.
Have I
do
disabled it again? Let
Boy,
me
I
look.
must not be
Let me
trustworthy.
look. Let me look.
No, I think it's me. You know, I was
No, I see. Remove.
doing bad
Remove.
things.
Share screen. Well, heck.
Yeah, it doesn't allow me in.
You know, one of these days I'm going to take a lesson on Zoom here. If I go to security, allow participants to share screen. Now, I bet that'll work now.
I hope so.
Yeah, every
Because-
time you sign out, Tom, Zoom just resets all the settings.
Yeah. They're going to also start requiring everybody to use a password, I think, pretty soon. I keep getting emails about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see here. All right. Now we can do that. And how about that? Okay.
Oh,
Does that
yeah.
look full screen?
Yeah.
All right. This is how the parts come when you, excuse me, when you get the phaser kit. The phaser is made by Midnight Design Solutions, and they're in Tennessee. And what this is it's about a 4 or 5 watt QRP digital mode transceiver. And primarily, of course, it's set up for FT8, but you can run Olivia and PSK31, even RTTY and other modes on it. Pretty amazing little radio. And we'll kind of go over how they give you the parts. As you can see, they come already sorted for you on the cards, which I thought was kind of a neat touch. Now, of course, a kit like this, which goes stage by stage, where one page you're doing one part of it, like the receiver or the transmitter, I prefer to have all the parts in one bin so that when I run out of parts, hopefully that stage is done. But this saved a lot of time, and so all the parts were there and available. So let's see if this will let me do that. This is what the board looks like. Now, there's a later Rev C on this board. This was a Rev A board. And this particular IC next to the lower right is now a surface mount part as well. And all the surface mount parts are already put on the board for you. So don't let them scare you away from building the kit, because like I said, these ICs, these 4 ICs, there's a crystal and there's a couple of capacitors and I can't remember what else, that surface mount that's already on this board. So you don't have to worry about it at all. It's not a tremendously huge board and it's not very complex, but it does take time. You're not going to get this done in one evening. It's going to take you a couple evenings to put this together, or maybe a Saturday and Sunday afternoon. So it's not going to be one of those overnight kits, but it's a lot of fun. Let's see, don't know why that's there. So we're going to take a look here, and what I did was there's an option you can order from DigiKey. You can order the same exact heatsink, and then you solder the two together because the final gets really, really warm. And I found that having doubled it by doing this, where you clamp it together and solder the two halves together, seems to work better than just one at keeping it cool. Now, of course, during FT8 transmission, you're on for 13.5 seconds and then off for 15 seconds. So your duty cycle is roughly 50%, so it has a chance to cool off. But if you're running something like Olivia or PSK31 or something like that, you're probably going to want to put on this extra heatsink. And so I have the 20 meter version. The one I did first is the 40 meter version, and I'm going to do the 20 meter version next. And I will definitely do this modification. Some of the resistors lie flat on the board and some of them stand up. So I'm going to talk a little bit about hairpin resistors. And you'll find a circle on the board, and then there's a little tiny line pointing to another hole. And so you'll always put the body of the component that's hairpinned like that over the hole, and then the top lead that's bent over goes into the other one. And so the reason that you're going to see this in some kits is because there's not enough room to lay everything flat. And so to try to make everything fit on the board, some of them are flat and some of them are hairpin style. So don't be afraid of it. Now, what I usually do with resistors is I usually have the first stripe on the top and then the last one on the bottom. This, unfortunately, is a 5-stripe part, and so I knew that that red was the last part. I think this was like a 1K or 10K, I think it was 10K resistor. And then the black is the tolerance, which in this case I think is a 1%. And so don't be afraid of kits that have hairpin diodes, chokes, or resistors. It's just there to make it easier to squeeze more parts in the same space. And like I said, if it's a resistor, which doesn't matter which way, I always put the first stripe on top so that when I'm going to troubleshoot the kit, I can easily glance at the resistors to make sure that they're the right value. One of the toroids is a bifilar toroid, which means that there are 2 wires wrapped around it. And in this case, they're twisted together. And one of the nicest touches I've seen in this kit is that the bifilar wire is already twisted for you. And that's kind of a lengthy procedure, but if you have an electric drill, you can do it pretty quickly. So my guess is they took 2 spools and use a drill, and they can do several yards of it in only a few seconds with a good drill. So it is already cut to the length that you'll need, and it's already got the twists in it. So let's take a look and see what that toroid looks like when it's all put together. Now, don't forget, you're going to count the turns on a toroid with the number of times it goes through the middle of the donut. And you can see how nice and neat that makes a toroid when they already twist it pretty evenly. I know I've had trouble just twisting them by hand, and sometimes it's not even from the beginning to the end. And you want the twist to be roughly even, because this is a transformer. And I'll show you what this looks like when it's on the board. Okay, we'll kind of skip for a second. This is one of the toroids as the final output. And you'll notice how many turns is there in this? There's 5. And you count them by how many lines are through the middle of the donut. Now you can say, well, this wire doesn't wrap all the way around, nor does that. But we're counting how many times it goes through the middle of the donut. And this is 5 turns. This is what it looks like when it's mounted on the board with the close-up lens on it. As you can see, the 2 green wires are on the left side, the 2 red wires are on the right. In this case, in this particular kit, you had to have either the 2 red or the 2 green on the left or the right. So as long as it goes red, red, and green, green, you're all right. And so that's what a bifilar toroid looks like if it's done properly. And this is the finished board. Now, I hadn't done a lot of tests on it, and the reason is that the IC chip over here, which is the PIC chip, which has all the logic in it, they had apparently sent me the 20-meter PIC chip for a 40-meter board. And so when I fired it up and hooked up the frequency counter, it said 14.073, something like that. Oh, okay, I must have the wrong chip. And sure enough, that's what the problem was. The other problem was this. As you can see, Q4 has this extra thick white line on this side, which means that's the side of the semiconductor that has the heat sink. And as you can see, I did it backwards. And so consequently, the kit did not put out anything, but there was a signal coming up the chain. So an adjacent receiver, and I always talk about having a reference receiver when you're building kits. The reference receiver picked up the signal on 7074, which is our FT8 frequency, but no RF was coming out the output. So I traced it back with my scope, and I found something like 8 volts peak to peak on the driver and nothing on the output. So I discovered, oh, I did it backwards. So a little solder wick, and about 5 minutes later, I reversed it. And we're putting out about 4.6 watts, which is pretty nominal for this kit. I'm told it's anywhere from 4 to 5 watts. And so 4.6 was pretty much right on it. One of the neat things about this kit is you have the option for another $25 to get a case that's made out of printed circuit board material. Now, you know that a lot of the cases for the 4-state QRP kits also are made this way. And you can see where I've just put dabs of solder there. And actually, they tell you you can get away with that. You can just have dabs on each edge, 1 or 2 on each line, and it'll hold it together. But I'm kind of not satisfied with that. And I don't know about you guys, but once I have that all put together and it's all nice and straight, I tend to throw a lot of solder on there, and I solder all the grooves so that it's extra strong. That also helps incorporate the sides as a pretty solid shielded case. The extra ribbon cable and the LEDs and the extra buttons and so forth come with the enclosure kit, and very, very worthwhile. This is what it looks like when it's all put together and lit up. And once again, I apologize, it was in backwards, and you'll see when I corrected it. But this is what it looks like inside. There are 4 toroids in this kit. Don't be afraid of them. Like I said, the bifilar is already twisted. All you got to do is wrap it around the core. And then these are very simple ones, a 5-turn, and I think there's like a 14 and a 15 or so. This is another kind of a better view here, what it looks like. And here is a top-down view. Now you'll notice, guess what? I moved this where it belongs. And so guess what? There's more spacing between that and that 5-turn toroid, which is really the way it's supposed to be. So this is what it actually is supposed to be and ready to make contacts. So I'm using another kit, the NorCal Power Meter, and it's actually pretty darn accurate. And it's telling me, of course, it's hooked to a 20-watt dummy load. So it's telling me I'm putting out 4.6 watts. SWR, of course, is flat, and there's no reflected power. And so we know we got 4.6 watts coming out, and I'd say that's pretty good. So I get on there, and somebody was calling CQ. I click on him, and guess what? He comes right back to me, right here, K9RJO. And so I would say it's working pretty good, considering it was on one of those all band verticals that you got to use a tuner with, and it's ground mounted, and it's kind of in between a tree and my tower, so it doesn't get out real good, but that's the antenna that I use when I'm testing kits, at least to see how well they receive. I've yet to put it on my 40-meter double bazooka, but as soon as I do, I'm sure it'll be full of signals. But as you can see, I was able to work K9RJO from EN52, which I'm looking there, and it's kind of near Rockford, Illinois, or southern Wisconsin. So that's not too bad for 40 meters at that time of the day. It was still like around 4 or so in the afternoon, and but conditions, like you said, on 40 have not been that great. So let's see if I can get my ugly face back. And there you go, Tom. You got me back.
All right. Well, that's a cool little kit. What's the approximate cost of that?
If you get the kit and the case and the shipping and everything, it's around $90.
Okay.
And like I said, it's kind of neat to have that thing sitting there. You can monitor FT8 or whatever you want to do, or there is a way. It uses the 2 buttons, and you hold one down when you power it up, and it puts it into a programming mode, and you kind of send CW with the left button I think is the DITS, and the right one the DAWs, and you send the I think it's like 5 characters or whatever of the frequency that you want to define for the second button, the alternative button, or alt. And so you can leave like the FT8 channel there, and on the right one you could have like where FT4 is, or Olivia, or Hellschreiber, or PSK31, or whatever you want to run. So but like I said, the default FT8 will be in the left.
And you can get that in different bands. How many different bands can you get it?
They have 80, 60, 40, 20, 30, and 17, I think, is as high as they go with this. And I'd like them to do a 6-meter one, considering how popular operating on 50.313 is.
And you can use other modes on it. You could actually do whisper with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do whisper. I could set the second one to the 20-meter whisper and just have that plugged in to monitor, like for the balloon and so forth.
Okay.
I have not measured the sensitivity of the receiver, but it seemed to be pretty good.
All right. Well, very good, man. Thanks for showing that.
Glad to do it.
And you know, Glenn and I have got a schematic there in nuts and bolts to build what is it, 20-meter whisper receiver, right?
Yeah, 20-meter whisper.
Yeah, we'll have to build one of those up and see how it compares. It looks, well, it's going to be a whole lot simpler, not quite as many parts, so not sure how.
Yeah, I'd like to try that. I've heard about this circuit that you guys were talking about, and that might be something fun to build up here as well.
Okay, well, hopefully I'll start on that soon, and we'll send you all the information about it.
Sounds great.
All right, well, hey, thanks so much, man. Enjoyed it. Just stick around. We'll be back here in a second, and we got some other exciting things to talk about. And I'm going to surprise you guys. We're going to talk about nuclear power tonight. We're going to talk about, Bill don't even know this yet, I'm going to talk about nuclear power balloons tonight.
We're going to build our own reactors.
Let me tell you, it's within reach. Nuclear powered Pico balloon. I've got the detail here. I'm going to show it to you later. Bill hadn't even seen this yet. I mean, he's seen a little bit of, but But Bill's going to give us an update on some other things. Okay, everybody just stick around for a minute. We'll be back. Get out and be active with ICOM's new IC705 and its optional multifunction backpack. The IC705 is your perfect QRP rig as you have base station features at the tip of your fingers in a portable package covering HF, 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at just over 2 pounds with RF direct sampling for most of the HF bands and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz. And it has a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen with a live band scope and waterfall. Additional features include 5 watts with the BP272, 10 watts with 13.8 volts, SSB, CW, AM, FM, as well as D-Star. It has a micro USB connector and Bluetooth, integrated GPS with antenna and GPS logger. It has a micro SD card slot. The HM243 speaker mic comes standard, and it supports QRP operations. The perfect accessory is the optional backpack. It's the LC192. It has a special compartment for your IC705. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios. And don't forget, you should register for QSO Today's groundbreaking virtual ham expo. This expo will be filled with virtual exhibits and great speakers, all from the convenience of your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Visit QSO Today, hamexpo.com to register.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
All right, well, back. And we're going to be talking right now to Bill, WB8ELK, our master of high altitude balloons. Bill, talk to us, man. There was a big balloon launch here last week, man. Talk to us.
Yeah, we had the Great Plains Super Launch about 9 days ago. It was a week from last Saturday. And we normally gather all the balloon groups from around the country and the world. We show up at a conference on a Friday and we give talks, typically in the Great Plains area, which can vary anywhere from Nebraska, Iowa, all the way to Colorado and Texas. We've had it all over the region. But this year, due to the state of affairs of things at the moment, we decided to do it virtually. And so we used Zoom, and we had over 120 participants watching the talks. We had speakers from India and Great Britain and all over the country. So we had an international participation this year, and we actually plan on doing the super launch via Zoom in the future. Even when we get to meet in person, we will also have a Zoom link for those who can't drive to one of the locations that we typically are at, and so that they can participate remotely via Zoom. So we're going to stream all the talks, and it worked out just fantastic. Everything worked out great. And so then on the following day, after our usual conference, we usually meet out in a field somewhere, a small airport or in a field or a schoolyard, and we launched upwards of 10 of the big weather balloons and a number of the pico balloons, and we do that every summer, typically in June or July. So this year, next year, it will be in Indiana, near Lafayette, Indiana, near Purdue, at Spaceport Exploration Center. And the following year, I'm going to hold it here at in Huntsville, Alabama, near the Space Camp area. So not quite the Great Plains, but we're expanding the term Great Plains. So I do have a PowerPoint slide. I could show you a few of the details if I can share that. Let me make sure I've got it all in already here. Okay. So I'm going to share it and see if that comes through for you. And I'll go full screen. Can you see that okay?
I can see it.
Am I sharing that okay?
Yeah, you're not full screen. I see the little
Okay.
small one. That's okay.
So,
yeah, we can see it good now. Yeah.
okay. So, the Great Plains Super Launch 2020, on the day of the, where we would normally have the launches in a field, we did it live streaming on Zoom. So we carried our notepads and laptops and cell phones out, and we launched 10 pico balloons and 5 regular latex balloons in Washington State, Idaho, Denver. The Idaho one's missing. It should be KD4STH, should have shown up there. We had 2 in California, and I launched one here from Alabama. We had 2 launched from Atlanta, Georgia, and just all, of course, Nebraska, where the conference was supposed to be held. They launched from Nebraska as well, and down in Houston. So these are all the balloons that were launched simultaneously or within a few minutes of each other on the day of what we call the super launch. And so some of these were with the party balloons, the 36-inch party balloons. Some were with the very large weather balloons, and some with the SBS-13 envelopes, like you're flying with W5KUB-18. So after 9 days, at least one of them is still flying. Joanne, can you see that slide?
Yeah, I can.
Joanne's flight. So we have KC7VQR-11 was last heard near Kazakhstan, and supposedly it should show up in China later tonight if it's on track. It was launched from Washington, and Joanne launched hers from Los Angeles. It does not show the fact that hers went to New Mexico and Texas, went down to Mexico, went out in the past Baja for a couple of days. It came right back to Los Angeles 3 days later, and then finally went across the United States. And today it showed up off the coast of Portugal. So, and it's supposed to continue on across to southern Europe and into China. Now, hers is she is using 2 of those silver foil balloons, the 36-inch inexpensive balloons with hydrogen, tied together at the neck of the balloons. They aren't stacked on top of each other. And they're working phenomenally well. She's flying at 35,000 feet, and it's been aloft for 9 days now with two of those balloons. KC7VQR-11 is flying an SBS-13. And these are both APRS Skytracker boards.
Now, one of the things that is interesting to me, we've made 9 attempts to go around the world, And you know, we get different distances. We get to Morocco or we get to China or whatever, and it's tough getting all the way around. And I think this demonstrates here. They launched what 12 balloons, and two were flying after maybe a week.
They launched 15 balloons, and well, they launched 10 Pico balloons, and only 2 were flying. Yes.
And 2 were flying, and that's kind of what we were, you know, up against. You know, as we kept launching one after the other, you know. And my philosophy was, I think 1 out of 10 will make it.
That's about right.
Yeah.
My balloon smashed into a storm off the coast, near the coast of North Carolina, near Kitty Hawk. They didn't quite make it to Kitty Hawk, so I think mine splashed down about a half mile from shore. KM4BUN and KM4ZIA, the teenagers from Atlanta, Audrey and Jack, they were flying SBS-13s on whisper mode. Worked great the first day, but then they slammed into very large storms off the coast of North Carolina, and they were brought down. So,
well, and you know, Bill, I think
it actually pays to be flying in the Arctic. That your sky ants are very good at navigating your balloon, because they've decided it was safer to be flying in the Arctic.
Well, you know, hey, Bill, one of the things that I also want to mention, I think if you want to up your chances of getting around the world, of course, I think we'll agree the SBS-13 is probably a better chance because it can fly higher. But again, here in this thing you're showing, they launched maybe 5, and 1 SBS is still flying out of 5, and that's probably about about what we saw. We probably launched 5 or 6 SBSs this year, and you know, we got one that's staying up here.
You have to be very careful about the weather, and the ones that were brought down at the super launch were all brought down by They were brought down by 2 factors: weather and overinflating the balloon. And one fellow had trouble heat sealing the neck of the balloon, which probably caused a leak on his.
Yeah.
So,
hey, this one you're showing now looks pretty familiar. This one looks familiar. Let's talk about it.
Yes, you're making yet again another big loop around the Arctic near Greenland.
Yep.
And so we're unfortunately we may be running out of gas or picking up some ice.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards both factors because you're actually aren't coming down, but you have lowered in altitude quite substantially, about 5,000 feet lower to 6,000 feet lower float altitude in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Part of that's due to flying in the Arctic, where the pressure altitude, you are going to be flying a little lower in the Arctic regions, but I think some of it is due to losing some gas and losing some, how many days has it been aloft now?
I have to look at the web page. I think about 72 days.
71 and a half, 72, thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time. So that's doing pretty good. So you're going to be losing at least some leakage over that period of time. So you might be losing some super pressure. But I'm thinking just from looking at the altitude curves that you might be running into some issues with icing, because you aren't coming all the way down.
Yeah.
And if you were losing super pressure at night, you'd come down at night and wouldn't be seen the next day. This is a chart showing the altitude variations on the right there. You see it took a big dip, and that probably was caused due to icing, because you were way up there. There was some weather up there near Svalbard Island in eastern Greenland, and you may still have some ice collected that's going to take a while to melt off. So I'm thinking mostly that you probably picked up some ice in the cloud tops.
Well, you know, Bill, one of the things that's I really don't like the slow loopy loops around the Arctic, but if you're going for duration, this might be a good place to be, because if you're down around the equator, man, there's some storms down there.
They're 50,000 feet plus down on the equator, and that can definitely knock you out of the sky. And in fact, those storms off the coast of North Carolina on the day after the super launch that brought down 3 balloons, those storm tops were over 50,000 feet. So
yeah,
you flying at 40 to 45,000 feet doesn't guarantee that you're going to miss all the storms. If you were to be able to fly above 55,000 feet, you're probably going to be above just about all of them. So anyways, but you'll see, I don't know if you can see the rightmost portion of the screen, but you see the big dip that happened on the day of the 17th a few days ago, and then it's been flying lower ever since that.
Yeah,
we're at 33,000 feet, and we're almost 9,000 feet or more or less than what you typically float at.
Yeah.
Now, I also wanted to talk about an interesting, this is like, as you say, watching paint dry, but this is a buoy that moves a lot slower than our balloons do. He's averaging about a half a mile an hour. The really cool thing, a lot of people have been thinking about putting out a buoy and having it report back via whisper. And so Randy, KQ6RS, in association with Mount Carmel High School in San Diego, they've been putting together a buoy. And this is using one of my Whisper Sky Tracker boards, but without the solar panels and without the super cap, hooked up to a modified CD antenna, and with some with loading coils on it. And he's done a great job of engineering it and making it waterproof. It's in PVC pipe. The whole thing weighs about 36 pounds. 21 pounds of that is just in the D-cell Duracell batteries that power this.
Mm-hmm.
And having the ocean as a counterpoise makes a huge difference. He actually does not have anything exposed outside of the PVC pipe. Even the copper foil that he's using as the counterpoise is actually 24 inches long, but it is insulated from the salt water by the thickness of the PVC pipe. So it's actually, the ground counterpoise is capacitively coupled to the ocean rather than have the copper right in the salt water, which would eventually corrode it. So it works great. I'm getting reports every 10 minutes for the past 5 days. It has only moved 36 miles in that amount of time. It can take half a day to move one area here. This is a 6-digit grid square, so it's a 3x5 mile box. And I put in a special buoy symbol instead of a balloon to show that it was a buoy. So this is an example of if you go to aprs.fi and you type in KQ6RS-1, it's done the same way as your balloon. It takes the Whisper data off of the whispernet.org database, uses a Python script, and converts it to APRS and sends it to aprs.fi. Now, it doesn't show up on tracker.habhub.org because obviously it's at 0 feet instead of the 2,000 meters that would be required to show up like a balloon would. So, but this is great. It really hasn't missed a beat day and night. Propagation has been phenomenal. And I'll try and change the slide here and show you. This is the propagation he's getting. This is the Whisper map. And this is the propagation that he has been getting from his buoy, which is about 380 miles southwest of San Diego. He's had multiple reports from New Zealand, Australia, even South Africa, which quite literally is on the other side of the world for him. and all over the country, and Hawaii and Alaska. I mean, that saltwater ground plane works fantastic. And this is the 20 milliwatt transmitter, and he's getting reception day and night because propagation right now in 20 meters has been open all night long, particularly to Australia, where he, after dark, he usually gets reports from New Zealand and Australia.
Hey, Bill.
So if you want to copy this, go to whispernet.org and type in KQ6RS, and on APRS.FI, type in KQ6RS-1.
Hey, Bill, I got a question for you. You know, when the ants have to bail out and we lose 18, we'll start another project. I've got several here that I want to start, but let me ask you something. The floater, even though I don't like something moving that slow, what are my chances of building one and dropping it off the bridge here in Memphis and letting it go down the Mississippi River? You think you'd even make it to the ocean?
Well, it'd be a message in a bottle, and you could end up on the shore of the Mississippi River along the way. He contacted the Scripps Research Institute in San Diego. It's a marine institute and well known, and they have a big research vessel. And they were more than happy to take it out 380 miles from the coast during one of their research missions and deploy it for him. And because it was a wonderful school project for the students. And so I'll show you a few details, if you have time, of how he constructed the buoy. Yeah, that may be something we might want to do. I'm afraid, though, if I launch here, it'll get stuck on a sandbar or somebody will pull it out of the water. So that's why he wanted to deploy it several hundred miles off the coast to give it a chance to. Tell us how long the batteries. Now, you got quite a bit of battery in that tube. Tell us the expected life expectancy of the batteries. As soon as I find my PowerPoint, I will show you that. Where did it go? Okay. The expected battery life is 180 days. Okay. Okay, hang on a minute. I gotta see what's up with why it's not finding this other PowerPoint.
So it's all self-contained with just a battery and no solar cells?
Yeah, right. Just battery.
Strictly battery operated.
You know, with the salt water, I wonder if you couldn't make like a salt water battery to power that.
That's a possibility. Oh, here it is. Okay, I found it. All right. Let's see if that shares. I'll try and make it go full screen here.
Okay.
Full screen. There we go. So basically, it's about 31 pounds. They're using a 15-foot long, I think it's 15-foot CB vertical. They were going to use some ham antennas, but the CB vertical was so rugged that they decided to go with that and use some matching network to make it tune to the 20-meter band. And that goes down about, it's a 9-foot long whip antenna, sorry. 9-foot long antenna with a 2-foot copper foil inside of it. Here's an example of some of the ocean currents that they were expecting to receive to be in. Unfortunately, they seem to be heading right back to San Diego. They're 1/10 of the way back to San Diego, but I think it's going to start looping around like Tom's balloon has been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's going to come all the way back to California. So this is some information. This is the board. This is the Sky Tracker board, which doesn't have the solar panels or the super cap on it. It'll take a minute for it to update the slide. So it's basically the same as a balloon board, only without okay, here's some details of how he mounted the whisper board inside the PVC pipe and how he mounted the antenna to it. It'll catch up here in a minute. He spent quite a bit of time making sure the antenna was tuned just right with all of his equipment, and he created a battery pack of 7 D-cell Duracells in parallel, 3 in series, for 21 batteries, 21 D-cells.
Mm-hmm.
And the average current drain is 27 milliamps for the board. Here's how we use the skin effect to create his around this capacitive coupling copper tape. I'll see if I can find a picture of the battery pack.
You know, I was just thinking, I mean, you could use a 6-inch pipe and just cram down one of those 7 amp hour, 12 volt batteries in there. You can just about do anything you wanted to, seal it up as long as it floats.
Well,
right?
the Duracells work great considering the water temperature is about 20 degrees centigrade, and probably if he stays in the Pacific, doesn't go up into Alaska, then he's still going to be above the area where alkaline battery doesn't like. So he's going to get quite a bit of life out of this. But that's how he has the batteries mounted in the tube, and that's a detailed. Here's a detailed description of all the sections. He's got steel shot weight rebar in the bottom layer. The battery pack is 6.4 pounds. Try flying that on one of those Pico balloons.
Mm-hmm.
And the really neat thing he did was a magnetic switch, because once he had to send this out on the research vessel, he didn't want them to have to plug in anything or create a leak to the outside world. So he put a super magnet on the outside, held in place by a spackling compound. So if they forgot to remove it, it would dissolve and fall off in the ocean after a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it was easy to remove the magnetic switch. And then he has 24 inches of copper tape and 60 inches of horizontal pipe as the float section filled with foam, and 10 inches above where the whisper board and the antenna matching goes. He did a number of tests in San Diego Harbor, and really had some good results from that. And then he really worked at getting the resonant frequency dead on. And you can see the different values of series and shunt inductance that he used to get the CB vertical to attune to 14 megahertz. Here's some This is a picture coming up showing how he made the inductors.
I would say he could use smaller wire.
He probably could,
Yeah.
considering only running 20 milliwatts.
Yeah.
But you can't argue with the performance. It's working great.
You don't have to worry about hydrogen trying to lift this thing up.
I was going to say weight's not an issue with this thing.
Yeah. Heck, man, maybe we might want to try something like this. I'm just afraid I can't get it down the river. That's my only problem. I'd have to work on getting somebody to take it out in the ocean. Actually, I've got a lot of contacts down in Miami.
Like I said, he contacted the. You can put it out in the Gulf of Mexico. Find somebody in the Gulf of Mexico to take you out and get you out at least 200 miles.
I was going to say, dump it off off the Keys and get into the Gulf Stream. Send it right through the Bermuda Triangle.
I've got a lot of contacts in Miami. I know somebody that would probably take us out and drop it off for us. That might be something to do. And we'll be on the other side of the North and South America, so unless it goes through the Panama Canal.
Oh, he also made mention he spot welded the batteries, and he said the Duracells work better at spot welding than the ever-ready batteries. And it shows how he spot welded the tabs onto the batteries. If you're going to try and hand solder it, use a very large iron and be ready to cool off the battery quickly with compressed air. But the spot welding works great. This is how he did the spot welding.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been out there for 5 days, and the battery voltage has gone from 4.6 volts to 4.5 volts in that whole time. And that's with the transmitter on continually day and night.
Well, that's
Here's a good
cool.
view of the entire battery stack.
That's 6.5 pounds. Yeah.
Yep. not ounces, not grams. You want to have, when you've got a large antenna sticking up, you want to make sure it stays pointing up.
Yeah, but he could have used more batteries.
Yes, you're right. He could have.
I wouldn't have done the shot. I would have thrown another 21 batteries in.
Yeah.
Or grab me one of those 100-pound UPS batteries that FedEx has there, Tom.
Yeah, that's what I was saying a while ago. You get a big enough piece of PVC pipe, you can put a pretty big battery in there.
Well, he wanted to concentrate as much weight in the bottom as possible to make sure it
stood upright.
The waves wouldn't tip it over. And apparently it's working because it's floating, and I get a report every 10 minutes, day and night. I don't think it's really missed more than one or two in that 5-day period so far.
I think it's a great idea, Tom. I still say we should throw one off of the Mississippi River Bridge and just see what it does.
Man, I'm just afraid it won't get very far over,
Yeah. What the heck? It might make it out. I mean, if you've ever flown over where it meets the Gulf, I mean, that water goes very, very far out, and it might even catch the Gulf Stream.
Here's his unique magnet to power it on, and he kept it in place with spackling. So if they forget to remove it, it'll come off. It's water soluble. It's drywall spackle.
That was a really cool idea.
If that thing kind of floats around, I don't know, somewhere over around some of the islands out there in the Pacific, and a magnetic landmine comes up close to it, it's going to stop transmitting.
actually, there's very little to it that would be magnetic. The steel shot wouldn't be, the batteries wouldn't be.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a cool project there, and we'll keep following that, and it gives us some ideas maybe to do something else here, on the show.
Yep, and maybe you can, since you've gone around the world 3 times, see if you can do it on the ocean.
Well, we'd have to go through the Panama Canal, man. That would be.
I will say that there was a group of students that actually produced a autonomous sailboat, and
right.
It went from, I believe, Newfoundland to Ireland, and it would transmit its position, but that was through a satellite uplink.
Yeah.
And it would actually adjust the sail to keep forward progress towards its goal autonomously.
All right. Well, look, hey, let's talk a little about some future projects. We have been trying, Bill, and I keep talking about, let's put a battery on one of these things. Of course, everybody's tried batteries. Everybody says it can't be done. I'd love to have my balloon tracking 24 hours a day. I can make it track 24 hours a day down here on the ground. But when I get that thing up at minus 70 degrees, the battery won't work. And I've tried a number of batteries, and we actually built a temperature box here. And when we took the battery down to below a minus 20, it just stopped working. It wouldn't charge anymore. So I've been working with some battery companies. There's some battery companies interested, and they've been sending me emails and working with me. So there's some battery companies out there that say they can get me a battery that'll go down to a minus 100 degrees Celsius. Now, I don't know if I believe that. But anyway, we've got other people in the industry out there, they're following our balloon. Now, one thing, and I sent Bill this, and he picked right up on it. Let me show you something. There are some options here. There are some options. So here we go right here. I have found on the internet, and this is a legitimate product, I have found a nuclear battery. This is an atomic nuclear battery, and it's actually out there for sale. It's a company that makes these. You don't have to charge it for 20 years, and it'll run for 20 years. And the problem is the current is lower than what we need to run. So, but you can see here they've got a number of products. It's called nanotrinium. It somehow uses trinium, the element. I guess that's an element to generate the nuclear fission that makes the voltage. And you can see there, it looks like about the best they can come up with right there is 156 microamps is their top current. Looks like their best current down here at 2.4 volts will be about 52 microamps. So this is not going to work well for us right here, but you can see there they are. They're putting those things out. They're legal. I don't know how it would be to fly a nuclear fission balloon over a country. There may be a problem with that. So we're going to go to plan B. Now here's plan B. I want you to look at this video right here. I have found a device that will keep our battery warm. So if we can keep our battery warm, it'll work fine up there at minus 70. So look at this. I'm going to run a quick video here. I want you to watch this. This is in a Scottish MRE, Meals Ready to Eat. This is right out of a Scottish, like a sea ration kit. So here we go. Let's see if I can play this.
A military ration, but a very, very rare one. This is one of the last few Scottish Army rations. It's single serving meal number 5, winter high calorie, but when they say winter high calorie, it was also used as an extreme environment high calorie. And this is just coming out to the end of its best before date. And the reason for that is because the Scottish Army has pretty much been integrated into the British Army. The Royal Scots is the last sort of remaining section that I know of. It's the only ones that the Trident ingot ration heater. This is amazing. This is so rare. There were only 2 military organisations in the world that issued radioactive ration heaters. One was the Russian Army and one was the Scottish Army. And it's because the nuclear arsenal is based in Scotland. Ration heater because it's based on an atomic extract, plutonium extract from the Trident submarine fuel rods. But in this case, it's in a very controlled system. It's got the controlled heater. It's also got, if I pull this out now, it won't heat up. Now, you know how this thing about radiation and all that, this fluorescent green colour, this is just coolant. The rod in the middle is the actual nuclear rod. It's based on a plutonium alloy, and it has a pacification rod. Let's give it its proper name, a neutron absorber rod down it. The green liquid is purely the coolant, and the reason it's green is just to identify and just to show that it's just to make these devices easy to identify. At the moment it's cold. I shall put it back in its outer shield because that makes it safer, but that is going to be used to heat the main course. I'm going to add the water to this. This nuclear heater will take a while to come up to temperature, so I shall return in a moment once it's up to temperature and I'll show you the neutron absorber rod going into this to actually pacify it again. So I will be back in a moment. Okay, the pot noodle is up to temperature. I'm going to take the heater. The heater is very hot. The heater is extremely hot. I'm going to pull this out with a pair of pliers here. Now, it's interesting to note that it's got a neutron absorption rod. I'm just going to get a bit of paper and wipe this. Right, okay. I'm going to clean this off. It's extremely hot. If I left it any longer, it would start smoking, but it does regulate. It's got a positive temperature coefficient characteristic on the alloy in here that it will self-regulate. But here is the important bit. I'm going to slide the neutron absorption rod down the middle like this. Just slides in, and it's sort of sticky enough that it doesn't drop back out again. And then I'm going to slide that back into its sleeve to dissipate that heat. If you left the rod out, it would continue to get hotter, but it would regulate at a certain temperature. By putting the neutron absorption rod in, it brings it down to a temperature that it's easy to transport in its little heat sink and, of course, radiation absorber.
All right, so now look at there, guys. This is, see, we're getting somewhere now. For $5, I can get an obsolete Scottish MRE kit with a nuclear reactor in it. We take that little bitty nuclear reactor and we put it with our battery on our balloon, okay? And it keeps the battery, I was gonna say warm. It might keep it hot. I don't know. So,
How long does that thing last?
I don't know. But hey, Bill, you think we got any problems flying nuclear fission over other countries? I mean,
I don't know. I think plutonium added to my oatmeal is maybe not such a good idea.
well, you know,
yeah,
I tell you, I mean, that was some meal ready to eat kit. We didn't have anything like that back when I was, you know, in the Air Force, but you know, we had sea rations. But did you notice in there they had Scotch whiskey, all kinds of power drinks, candy bars, M&Ms, noodles, and a nuclear fission reactor, man.
When was that MRE manufactured? Did they say?
Well, I don't know. This says meals eat before March of this year, so it's just gone out of date. I'm guessing it's best before March 2020. So I don't know if that means they'll still continue to eat them, or if they're just going to sell them on a surplus market, or you know what they're going to do. But I'm thinking, okay, let's just keep our battery warm. Now I noticed there he was having a little trouble keeping the temperature down, so there might have to be some adjustments and some experimenting on maybe a little shield. You know how much to put in and out, and I don't know, but there you go. There is a way to do this. And since this show always tries to do it first, maybe we order one. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Do we really want to risk a meltdown in the sky if we miscalculate on the temperature dissipation?
Well, Glenn, I thought I'd bring it down to your house in our little temperature box, and you know,
No.
we could
And you know
we could
why?
work on it. We could
could
work
do
on it
that, and
together.
one of the cats would get it and hide it. My house would burn down 3 days later.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Oh well. Well, anyway, I don't think we'll do either one of those. But again, I do have this battery company. They got engineers working on our balloon project, believe it or not. I don't know how long our balloon's going to stay up. I think we're losing helium, hydrogen, like Bill said. I think we've lost some. I think we've got some icing. I guess it's possible that it's leaking so slowly that it could fly another month. I don't know, but the issue is going to be it's going to be flying probably at 30,000 feet, maybe 32, and that's going to put us near storms. But then again, if we never get out of the Arctic, if we just keep making loops around the Arctic up there, we're probably not going to hit a real storm. So I don't know. All right, well, that's about it for tonight, man. You know, anybody have any last comments?
No, I thought it was a cool idea. I'm still trying to work a way that we can take some of the excess solar cell current and use it to drive a little heater for us.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Something a little more conventional.
Yeah.
Or you know, maybe put a magnifier glass over, you know, the battery so that when it's in sun, it heats it up, and then insulate it really good so it'll carry it through half the night or something.
Yeah.
I think the ants might have a problem with that, you know, because, you know, the history of what magnifying glasses have done to ants.
This is true.
You know, I really thought Friday, we took a scare, and it wasn't a big scare to me, but I thought Friday was the beginning of the end. And in fact, I think that's a quote that Churchill made during the war. It's not the beginning, but it's not the end, but it's the beginning of the end.
It's the end of the beginning.
It's the end of the beginning? Is that what it was?
Yes.
So I really thought that probably we were going down Friday. And the problem I got is every time we start seeing the altitude and it looks like it's going down, then it goes to sleep for the night. So we don't know if it goes all the way down or if it comes back up. And on Friday it did return back up to 39,000 feet. Now Bill does say that the balloon is going to fly a little bit lower up in the cold in the Arctic up there, but we've lost more than that little bit, I think. So it might, I don't know if we'll make lap 4. I mean, with it hung up in the Arctic and the fact that we're losing some gas, we may not make it. But the bottom line is the show's goal was to get a balloon around the world just one time, and we did that, and so we've been real happy about that. So when it does come down, now we were prepared. We were prepared to send out the search and rescue planes on Friday to see if we could pick the ants up, you know, over the ocean out there. In fact, I thought they bailed out and left the balloon here at one time, but that was not correct. They're going to stick with it a little longer, and I don't know what our next project will be. We'll put another one in the air, or we might put one in the water. I don't know what we'll do, but we want to do something different than what everybody else is doing. So I don't know.
Well, you know, there was an interesting comment in the chat room just a minute ago. Build one that starts out in the air, and when it goes down over water, it'll keep going.
Well,
I've been working on that for some time, and that is a good way to launch a buoy, because I decided to start thinking about doing that because I dropped so many payloads into the Atlantic in my earlier days. Probably landed at least 20 or 30 payloads of varying sizes. I says, why don't I just have one that actually floats? So, but I've been working on that. I'm calling it the Sea Skipper.
yeah.
So,
all right. There you go. And
that could be interesting. In that once it got close to shore, you could get a ham with APRS or whatever to go out and actually pull it out of the water for you.
And that autonomous boat that I was telling you about earlier, it actually landed in Ireland, and they knew where it was, and so they asked some of the locals to go out looking for it, and they found it and sent it back. So it is possible to.
So I don't know how you'd keep an antenna up out of the water. I mean, the ground. I mean, the bottom half of the antenna is okay if it lays on the water or even goes under, but I don't know about the top. How you float it, or how do you keep it up? Maybe you just use insulated wire and you put a little piece of styrofoam every foot on it. That weighs nothing. Then it just kind of lays and floats on top of the water.
You're talking about a horizontal.
Yeah, a horizontal antenna that just kind of floats on top of the water.
Yeah.
Well,
Be an interesting concept.
I wonder if the balloon that's still attached would take it under. That's what I'm wondering. There's so many unknowns.
You'd work out a way to release you'd have to release the balloon in some manner.
I got it. You make it like a little fuse link up there out of something that dissolves in salt water.
Actually, I was going to do it with lifesavers.
Yeah, put a little lifesaver in there. Yeah, tie a string around both sides, and now you may not have 50-pound pull on that, but
No.
But hey, lifesaver's a good idea. After a while, it would dissolve, and the balloon would detach. And like I say, you could put a couple of these styrofoam, like peanuts, on the wire every couple feet. They weigh practically nothing, and it would float. Now, I don't know how good a signal you could get.
In the case of a balloon like you've got, the lifesaver method, I was going to do that with lengths of just some line down below, so that if it is slowly coming down and the bottom part hits the ocean before the actual payload hits, the lifesaver would dissolve, and then it would lose enough weight that it would go back up again. That was the concept I had.
The other issue that I see would be making that solar panel float up, aim upward and not be destroyed with water too. So, yeah, I think you could probably do it with a heavy payload. It's good. I would think you're going to have a heavier payload if you're going to try to do something like that. Yep. Well, there's all kinds of things we'll do. Everybody out there in the chat room and watching the show tonight, send us your thoughts about what we can do with our next balloon. How are we going to do this thing? No things like attach it to the back of a wild coyote or something like that. We're not going to do anything like that. But be interesting to see what our next project will be, because we have backup trackers ready to go. If as you guys watched, every time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 went down, we had another one ready to go. So in fact, I had one ham saying, why are you setting them up so quick? Why don't you wait about 8 months and send another one up? Why are you doing them so back to back? And well, we may have a different goal. Our goal was to get around the Earth here, and you're not going to get around the Earth if you keep waiting. So.
Well, you made it 3 times, and that's 3 times more than you wanted.
We did.
Call it good.
All right, well, guys, hey, thanks for joining us tonight on the show. It's about time to call it off here. And we appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
We'll say 73s from Nebraska.
Yeah. 73 to you and everybody out there and everybody in the chat room. 73 to you. If you're new to the show, send us a little note in the chat room, or send me an email, tom@w5kub. I'd love to hear from you. See you later. If you're listening out there on International Shortwave, this has been Amateur Radio Roundtable. It's been a ham radio show, and we meet every Tuesday night. And if you're out international, I guess I better give you the UTC time, and that is 0100 UTC on Wednesday mornings, your time out there internationally. See you guys later. Enjoyed it.
Night.
All right. What can we do here? We'll throw that on there.